This is Headline USA reporter and editor Ken Silva, and I'm here with Malachy Friedman, an MMA
Hey,
fighter and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt with over 20 years of experience, including coaching high-profile fighters like Kimbo Slice. Some pretty interesting stuff. He's currently the owner of Black Label Martial Arts Academy in Charleston, South Carolina, and I'm interviewing him today because I was recently sent a really fascinating video that hasn't been published yet of a fight that occurred in 2019 and resulted in the death of the guy who did the attacking. Um, but this fight, we'll play it and get Malachy's analysis in full, but it raises kind of interesting legal issues. There's a little bit. Some people think this is similar to kind of the Daniel Penny case where he choked out the guy in the subway. Um, but let's roll this fight. And first, Malachy, I'll just ask you maybe to break it down from a technical
yeah,
standpoint over who did what, incorrectly or correctly, just from like a martial arts standpoint. So, Malachy, if you need us to stop for you to talk at any point, feel free
sure.
to do that. And
Okay,
let's see what we got here. This footage has not been published yet until
okay,
when we release this video, so it should be pretty
okay.
interesting. And this is in a halfway house, by the way. So
Yeah.
there's two guys who got into an argument that gets physical as we're about
Both
to.
are there for the halfway house.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we see, there's a
Yeah.
verbal confrontation here. This guy is backing up, and things are about to get
Hands up.
violent in about
Yeah.
10 seconds. So just
Yeah. He looks like the guy that doesn't want to fight in the beginning. So
Mhm.
he's he must have said something. So he's walking towards him. That's a little bit aggressive,
Mhm.
walking towards somebody, but coming out like that, swinging. These are very, very bad punches. This is as bad as you can get. He does a good takedown. The guy on bottom is maybe knows something. He tried like a guillotine. Now he's controlling the head. Um, he's using like a lace on the inside of the leg to try to stop him from moving forward. He gave his back. So right here, this is kind of where it's a dangerous situation. Like this should be a control situation, not necessarily a choking situation.
Mhm.
But we see him putting in the choke here. And the thing that's interesting is that we're going to see is that he gets bumped off because he doesn't have hooks. He doesn't have but he's on the neck, right?
Mhm.
Um, right now it's still, he pulls the hand off the head, which says maybe other guy had training as well. But this is the moment where I would start to count from. So he's squeezing. It's not a good choke on right now. But I would say right about now, I would be checking to see how tight it is, fixing it, and kind of figuring out the movement of my opponent. Um, right now is about when if the guy has not moved, you should definitely be off of him by now.
Mhm. Mhm.
If you have any idea of constricting the blood to the brain, so it's not just like this guy's not getting oxygen to the brain; he's stopping blood to the brain as well as oxygen to the brain. Um, so I remember counting, and this goes on for a while. There's going to be no movement whatsoever from the guy who's on top. So I always looked at the bottom legs. So that's that the guy who's choking's legs are against the closet. Um, there's no movement on bottom, so there's no forceful. If you're still choking, there's still going to be movement in you rocking, trying to get back and forth. Sometimes the body can be tight still, so it can kind of be like the body's kind of like it tightens up. In weird situations, it tightens up. Uh, but I think I did the count,
Mhm.
right? So my count was 7 minutes, I believe. So it was like because when I watched the video before, it was at 14 seconds and or at 4 seconds, then it went to 10 seconds.
Right.
Not 10 seconds, excuse me, 10 minutes. This guy's definitely dead.
Backing up to the beginning of the
Yeah.
fight. So as you mentioned, that the attacker initially he can't throw a punch, but it looks like he knows a little bit of jujitsu. And
Yeah.
is that guillotine or whatever that he tried to pull in the beginning? How
So
effective? Like, could that have been
very
dangerous?
effective. It's
Okay.
very effective. I mean, the guillotine, I think, is one of the first things you should learn because when people try to take you down or grab you, you grab it. I mean, but it was, I mean, this guy's very sloppy. I think it just shows you that everybody knows a little bit of jujitsu now. They know a rear naked choke, they know a guillotine, and they maybe know a little bit of guard. Maybe they took 2-3 weeks at a jujitsu place, and they learned something. And that even something at 3 weeks is a lot more than people with nothing. I mean, it's a stark contrast. And I just say I don't like the way the guy's moving forward in the beginning, just because he looks like but the other guy's swinging and the other guy's backing up. He takes him down. So we're at 23-15 of the fight. And the guy see that where if we go back for just a second, like maybe 4 seconds, 5 seconds now, 6 seconds, a little bit more. Okay. See, that's a guillotine. Go back.
Right.
If we can pause right there, go up, right to where freeze there. So he's pulling guard, the guy on bottom. He has his arm wrapped around the neck. He's going to throw his leg over the back to create a wedge. The fulcrum is going to be at the neck where he's pulling back on the neck. That's going to create the choke. He just didn't do it right. So when he falls back, you can play it. You see him throw the leg over and he's trying to create a choke there and he just slips out. Then he does a pretty good job of head control, right? But he's kind of lacing the leg. And then he does the wrong thing by turning in and holding like a headlock. And that just is a pass to the back. And here's where the choke starts, 23-40. He gets kind of rocked off. I mean, I'm sure emotions are super high. He's doing a good job of defense for somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. Peeling the hand off is a very good defense, which made me think when this was here that choke wasn't on because he peeled the hand off. So I don't know if he's doing a gable grip, which means just like this and across the neck, because normally you're like that. But at this point, 24, it's, now we're at 27.
Yeah. More than 5 minutes passes with him on the back for sure. I think in court, he tried to say that at some point the guy on bottom woke up. I don't know about the veracity of that. Like the guy started struggling again, and then he had to tighten the choke. He does tell that guy in the Michigan shirt, go call the cops. I guess one of the reasons I wanted to talk to like a real professional fighter is because I think one of the differences between a real fighter and just a normal guy is like getting punched in the face, what that does to your judgment and your cognition.
It's going to drive you up a wall. You're going to be in panic mode. Your heart's going to be beat. You're going to have adrenaline. Your heart's going to be beating like it has never been beaten before. But that's the danger of choosing a choke, right? Like it's sometimes sad because I think whereas punching is one thing, and like we would like to say jiu-jitsu saves people, it saves people from you having to hurt them. Whereas you have somebody who's maybe less educated of what they're doing, they have no idea what they're doing, and they're using things that kill people. Like chokes are we call that the like that's the hierarchy. Like that's death. Like that's, you play around with that one's death. It's like arm bars, everything else is very, very small behind it. He could have, I don't know, because the foot was in the same position, so it didn't look like he adjusted anything. In my opinion, yes, I think he was probably skyrocketing. Maybe there was not he didn't mean to kill him. I mean, I don't know how educated these people are. I'm educated to know how long it takes to choke somebody and how long it takes for people to go brain damaged. I mean, 60 seconds, you can go brain damage. This is by far a death sentence for that long. But then again, that's what happens when people are untrained and they choose it's similar to guns, right? An untrained person with a gun is a dangerous person. Mm-hmm. An untrained person who's going to use jujitsu, or at least use the submissions of choking somebody, is dangerous. I definitely think, I don't know the guy's cognition, but I don't think anybody wants to go to prison. So I'm not sure. I can't get inside of his mind. You know, if he was like, he attacked me first so I can kill him, maybe that was in his mind. Or maybe he attacked me first, or I'm so jacked up and I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm going to keep squeezing until somebody comes for help.
Right. Yeah, I guess the reason I asked that, because he did get punched, maybe the strongest punches. I think probably the bigger brain damage was when he had the choke on and the guy on the bottom kind of rolls forward and he smashes.
Yeah, he hits his head. Yeah.
Just wondering if that could make you kind of black.
Yeah, no, I mean, not necessarily. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of fear put into you when you spike your head, you're almost knocked off the back. There's going to be a level of fear. There's a lot of fear playing into this. Mm-hmm. I'm going to assume, right? Because it's a panicked move. It doesn't look like somebody very smoothly controlling somebody, moving throughout the positions and very comfortable with jiu-jitsu and doing this. This looks like somebody who's had classes, has a fear-based issue of confrontation, and he's trying to win. I don't know if he's trying to kill the person, but that's why it's so important, I think, if you're going to choose these things, choose the choke, because we see it all the time. Like the guy chokes the guy out and the guy wakes up. You're like, you calm it down now, buddy. Mm-hmm. And those guys are the heroes, right? But you're still playing with so anytime you put a choke on any human being, you don't know what their medical health is. You don't know what anything is. So like you may take some guy who's like acting crazy, knocking beer bottles off and touching women in the bar, and you grab him and you choke him, and you choke him only until he goes unconscious and you let go. And he has a seizure. Is that manslaughter?
Right.
There you go. There's, it could be held on less and it could be fatal. But that's why you have to know what you're doing and choose constraint over submission, I think.
Sure. And just to give you and our viewers a little bit of a legal background. So this fight obviously happened in 2019. He was initially charged with manslaughter, and actually his first trial ended up with a hung jury. So they were going to retry him. But then the guy who died, his family and friends petitioned the prosecutor to actually increase the charges to murder one. And he was found guilty last year and sentenced to, I think, at least 25 years in prison for murder two. And some of his friends and supporters sent me this video because they're comparing it to that Daniel Penny subway case that kind of took the country by storm in 2023. Yeah. And I'm wondering, there's certain aspects of this seem to make this less egregious than what Daniel Penny did, because Daniel Penny wasn't actually attacked. On the other hand, this guy did leave the chokehold on for a lot longer than Daniel Penny. I'm wondering if maybe you could compare and contrast this with Daniel Penny and give your thoughts on that.
So I can compare and contrast this more with what I would associate this issue, like what he did. I believe it's manslaughter, not to make anybody upset. I'm not sure the degree of manslaughter. There has to be a background. Hopefully there was no audio, so we didn't get any. We don't know what statements were made. I have no idea what statements were made in court about what led up to it, what things were said, what any of their charges were previously. Like if somebody has already a violent history, if somebody doesn't have a violent history, I don't know if there was threats made prior that I'm going to fucking kill you, blah, 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 something like that by the guy that was attacked. I take this in the same aspect of you're driving drunk and you kill somebody, or you're driving drunk or you kill the person that's in your car.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a sad situation around, because the person is going to lose their life behind bars, and the other person lost their life permanently. It's like, so take jujitsu and take driving a car. Those are two responsibilities. People are going to jail now for texting and driving and committing and killing somebody, and they're going to jail for that, right? For manslaughter. So it's one of those things where it's like, you have these responsibilities, and maybe you need to be more educated. Like, you need to educate yourself that you're not allowed to talk on the phone or look at your phone before you get into a fatal accident and kill a family of 3. You're going to go to jail for that. If you use jujitsu in a self-defense situation, you have to understand also that how long something has to be on, or how long something should be on, before you start to make adjustments and figure out the other person's safety as well.
Sure.
It's a toss-up for me, and I say it's manslaughter. I don't think it's like manslaughter for the rest of your life, or I think it's manslaughter like, yeah, man, you took a life, you made a mistake. Here's the mistake, and here's how the mistake plays out for you. Unfortunately, the other guy lost his life, and that's in my opinion, that's what it most commonly, or I feel like, converges with, is that texting and driving, drinking and driving, these different things that we know that a car is dangerous and we have to appropriately drive it.
Sure. I guess just the unfortunate thing here is that the guy who's in jail now didn't ask to be put in this situation. I guess he seems like he had an aggressive posture. He was pointing at him, but the other guy, there was an exit door right behind him, and he decided to, go berserk.
Yeah. I mean, that's, but so it's the same thing with gun safety, right? Right. So not every situation calls for, so if he had a gun, right, and he took the gun out and they were struggling over the gun, and then he was in a position where he was on top of the guy, mm-hmm. right, and he shot him in the head as the guy, while he's still on top of him, that would be murder, because he was in a position of dominant control. He had him down, right? There was no reason to use lethal force. And I think that we have to understand that chokeholds are lethal force, right? So if anybody is choking you, they're trying, like, I believe that other person could get charged for attempted murder. Like, it's a sad situation. I'm not sure of his understanding of the situation. It's one of those things where you look at it and you go, that's horrible that person has to go to jail, but that is the way, and that's the way laws are, because the law doesn't always bend in the favor of political, not politically, but in the favor of like common sense, right? It bends into the favor of what controls people from doing certain things, and if this falls under the control of, like, hey, we don't want people choking people unconscious every time they get into a fight, and there's just a bunch of murder statistics, because if he fought you first, you could hold on, right? You can choke somebody to death, and it's self-defense. So that's kind of how I feel about it. It doesn't fall into the favor of somebody who may have done this by accident, or may have lost his mind in that moment, or was so scatterbrained and scared that he held on for everything. It goes the same way, that because the law isn't like, side note, this guy was scared. Side note, he didn't intend to, because everybody will say they didn't intend to.
Sure.
Kind of like Castle Law. You know what I mean? Like, where there was that person that was bringing people into his garage to shoot them, right? Where he would, like, hide things in his garage, and people would come in. It's a very, very strange law. Like, it's a very strange way of understanding things, but you've got to understand the law I think, when you use these things.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there you go. If nothing else, this is a PSA. I know, jujitsu is getting increasingly popular, so people need to realize that this is going to have real life consequences. And
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely appreciate your time and giving us kind of the fight breakdown and just your opinion on how people should handle these types of situations. I guess, is there anything else you wanted to say about the matter or any other thoughts?
I would just say, you know, going to jujitsu like we have more and more people going to jujitsu, right? Or at least going to jujitsu for a month,
Mhm.
right? Where they come in and they're going to leave with something. I would say understanding that control is above everything else, and understanding the control, and then understanding that you are now wielding a weapon of knowledge of how to fight better, and you're also wielding knowledge of how to kill somebody with your bare hands. And that's what a choke is. A choke is like before we did jujitsu and it was playing, it was a choke is to kill somebody, right? Now a choke is to tap out or whatever or subdue them. But before it was just for murder. And so we have to understand that we're teaching things that can murder or kill or harm people.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, thanks again. Yeah, I guess, yeah,
Of
we'll
course,
call it there.
sorry for both families. Of course, it's a terrible thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Sure. Um, okay, well, we will you're still working on this story. I do
Yeah.
have some body cam footage from the police that I'm still going through, but we're gonna put
Yeah.
this together. And when we publish our story, we'll send you this video. If you want to share it on your socials, you'll be free to do
Sure.
that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, we'll be in touch.
All right. Take care.
Yep. Have a good day. Take care.